everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Yes, I am filming lots of videos all in one go, so apologies for the same clothes, the same background, but I'm going to make the most of the Christmas tree whilst it's still up, right? So I'm just capitalising on that, and I'm sitting down and getting lots of content filmed. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my 2025 reading goals, and also then some books that I want to kind of really prioritise in 2025. What I have decided for this year, which is maybe a little bit different to last year I endeavoured to embark on the 52 book club challenge, which is this whole challenge online. There's a Facebook group, there's a journal, and there's 52, did I say 25? There's 52 prompts that you have to read a book to fulfill. And albeit it was great at the beginning of the year because there was lots to choose from and there was loads of easy prompts, once it got a little bit more difficult, I found that it was really quite pigeonholed my reading. I was reading books for the sake of fulfilling prompts and I wasn't actually reading what I wanted to read, and it kind of put me in a bit of a slump. So it's great to have some prompts and it's great to have some kind of more structure to my reading, but I feel like it just took away too much of my choice. And I think I just had a look on my previous video that I filmed. I think I managed to fulfill 39 of the prompts, so I'm still really quite happy with that. I may even find that once I stopped tracking, there might actually be a few more prompts that I could actually now tick off. And since when I stopped tracking to the end of the year, there might be a few more I could actually tick off, which I haven't read purposefully to tick them off, if you get my drift. But as it currently stands, I have read 69 books in 2024, and I do endeavour to at least read one more. I know I will definitely finish at least one more book, so that will bring me to a total of 70. I am going to set my 2025 reading number goal at 70. I kind of want to match at least what I've done this year. I went back and had a look at what I read back in 2023, which was a crazy busy year for me. My mum was really ill, I got married, and I went on a 2-week honeymoon, and 2023 was just a really crazy busy year for me, and I struggled with reading a lot. So I only read 52 books in 2023. 2024, I've read significantly more. I've read nearly 70 books, and will make sure that I've read 70 books before the year is done. So I think that would be a nice number to stick to for 2025, especially knowing that my reading has been a little bit more stable in this sort of like second half of the year in 2024, and I will hopefully keep that momentum going into 2025. I do want to get back into the habit of listening to audiobooks. I've really fallen out of the habit of this, and I think it's just because of what I am doing or not doing, as the case may be. I don't have much of a commute. When I was in my audiobook peak era, I had an hour and a half a day, 2 hours a day in the car or commuting, which I just don't do anymore. So I find it too short a commute to actually listen. My homeward journey is much better because I get stuck in more traffic and I've got a little bit more time in the car, and then when I come into the house I just keep it on and I can keep going, but my morning commute is not long enough. So I hope that in 2025 I can read a few more audiobooks, get back into the habit of that, and listen to them more when I'm doing chores around the house and stuff, and that help to bring my reading volume up a little bit and my reading number up. And something else that I talked about in my last video in my best books of 2024 is that I feel like I read a lot of the same sort of genre, read a lot of the same sorts of books. I do want to try and be a little bit more diverse with my reading across more genres in 2025. I feel like that would be something that I will enjoy, but also will by giving a little bit more variety to my reading, I think it will keep me more engaged with my reading. Whereas because I read a lot of romance and it seemed to be all really I was picking up, or majority of what I was picking up in 2024, I feel like that can get a bit samey. And I think then that's why perhaps at times I've not read quite so much. So yes, definitely want to read across more genres and want to revisit some genres perhaps I haven't in a little while, and some subgenres that I haven't read from in a little while, and really want to try and get back into reading a bit more of a mix of sort of like fantasy romance. I really neglected that in 2024, and I really want to try and read across a few more genres, which I know I enjoy and I know that I will love. I also want to really try and tackle my physical TBR. I have been really, really good this year. I am about to film a book haul after this one, but I have been really, really good this year with buying physical books. And I think that's because I was really kindly gifted a Kindle by a really good friend of mine. She upgraded her Kindle and she was offering her old Kindle out to me. My Kindle was so old. I think my Kindle was like from 2011, 2012, something like that. And I just wasn't really using it. And what it's done is that if there has been something new to read, I have perhaps been reading it on Kindle Unlimited rather than buying it physically. And I haven't bought an awful lot of physical books this year. I think it's probably one of the best years in a long time for actually buying books in. So what I really want to try and do in 2025 is tackle my physical TBR, really try and get that maintained like a good level. It's a little bit out of hand at the moment. I dread to think what number it is. I haven't even got it all sort of like buttoned up, signed, sealed. I do keep a track of my physical TBR on my Goodreads. So everything on my want to read shelf is everything I own physically that I haven't read, but it's not up to date. So part of 2025 goal is cataloguing all of my physical TBR, reading from my physical TBR, and albeit that probably will mean I won't read quite so much on my Kindle, but also maybe looking at unhauling from my physical TBR as well. I have this thing that I'm worried that I'm going to miss out on a book if I unhaul it, but actually your reading tastes change even in the space of a few months, let alone years. So I think there might be some books on there that perhaps I can look at unhauling and maybe just aren't my cup of tea anymore, or something I'm just not interested in anymore. And that's fine. I think trying to, now that I'm a little bit older, trying to just understand that it's fine to let go of things. Just because it was something you were interested in 5 years ago doesn't mean you have to still be interested in it. So that is something that I'm going to look at. And that kind of also ties in with, I really want to try and tidy, sort, organise my library room. It's a complete mess, hence why I'm filming in front of the Christmas tree, because it just wasn't going to happen. I wasn't gonna get to film in there today. It's a complete mess, and it has become a bit of a dumping space as well, just generally, like, oh, I've got this stuff that needs to go in the loft, oh, it will go in there until it goes up. Like all the boxes for the Christmas decorations have just gone in there rather than going back up in the loft, because all it's got to do is come back down again. So yeah, it's a little bit untidy, to say the least, and I really want to try and keep that as a nice space, so that I can do more filming in there and kind of keep up with that, but also create a nice space to sit in and read. Because if I'm spicing it up with where I can sit and read, I think that will be fun as well. There's only so much my bum can do sitting on the sofa. So rolling into the next section of the video, some of the books that I've got high on my radar to read in 2024 and 2025, sorry, and these are all books that have come off of my physical TBR. I've got some new books here which I also am really excited to get to, and I've got lots and lots of books that I could talk about, but I'd be here forever. So these are just a few that I've picked up which are like top of my radar, and that I really want to try and get to. Kind of some of them are a little bit more sort of like TBR veterans. So the first thing is that I posted about this on my Instagram yesterday, so if you saw that, then this is going to be the same content, but I really do want to make a start on Brandon Sanderson's work this year in 2025. So I've got Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, and then I have the First Era of Mistborn. First Era Mistborn. I did go delving deep into the depths of where you should start with the Cosmere, what's the best reading order. Some people say you should read Elantris first. Some people say you should go straight into this because Elantris isn't his best work. I'm still none the wiser, but I think I'm going to start with Elantris just because it's kind of a standalone on its own. I have read Sanderson before. I've read Skyward, and I don't know if I've read any more in that series. I can't remember. I do own more in that series, but I can't remember if I've read any more. So I have read his writing before, but I've not read the Cosmere. So I really want to delve deep into the depths of the Cosmere and get stuck in. A few years ago, tried Robin Hobb, and I don't think Robin Hobb is for me. So I want to find my like epic fantasy, bigger, wider, like, what do you call it? Expanse universe. I want to find my one. I want to find my niche in that. And I just don't necessarily think that Robin Hobb is necessarily for me, which is really makes me really sad to say that, but unfortunately it's just one of those things. Another book that is high on my priority TBR is Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. My dad gifted this to me for Secret Santa several years ago. This was in 2022. And it is actually signed by the author. He went into Waterstones. It was the cutest thing ever when he told me all about it after Secret Santa had been like done and dusted and we knew who'd given who. He told the lady, the bookseller in Waterstones, what I liked and what sorts of things I liked, and she recommended this one. He gifted it to me and I still haven't read it, and it's not because I'm not interested, it's just for some reason it's not been top up there on my TBR, and I want to make this a priority in 2025. Finally read it, because it's just been too long, and this is set in the 20s, I think in London, and I just think that sounds right up my street. So yes, definitely want to make that a priority. And then something else which I've had on my shelf a little while now. I think I bought this when I was in Southend with Daisy, I think, in Waterstones. This is the first book in the Cazalet Chronicles, called The Light Years, and all of the spines make up a really like idyllic Sussex scene. It's like the Seven Sisters. It's just a really like synonymous Sussex landscape of like the chalky cliffs. Anyway, this is, I think, something I'm going to really enjoy, because it's about a family that are coming to Sussex countryside. I live in Sussex, and I've lived in Sussex my whole life. But I think they're coming for the summer. But there's like lots of different facets to the family. This is the sort of thing I like, something that's got lots to it, lots of substance, lots of different characters, and kind of like lots of interwoven storylines. And this, I think, is post First World War, but I don't think the Second World War has started yet. I think that's kind of looming ahead of them. So want to make a start on this because I really want to read the series, and I was almost going to buy the second book in the series the other day when I was in Waterstones, and I refrained because I was like, no, Sophie, read the first one first, make sure you love it first, and then read the rest. That is how good my book buying has been in 2024. This is also a book I've had on my shelf for so long. This is Ill Will by Michael Stewart. This gorgeous edition was also published alongside a very similar edition, like similar style, to Wuthering Heights, and this is the untold story of Heathcliff. So if anybody that knows Wuthering Heights, this is the bit in between when Heathcliff goes away, makes his fortune and comes back, and this is the story of that. What I ideally want to do is I want to read Wuthering Heights up until the point that Heathcliff goes missing, then read this, and then read the rest of Wuthering Heights. That's the plan. I don't know anything about this, where it goes, what it does, but I want to read it, and I want 2025 to be the year that I do that and get a reread of Wuthering Heights in, because I can't remember the last time I read Wuthering Heights. I feel like it's wrong to not talk about at least something that I've got on my physical TBR that's romance, albeit that 2024 was a really romance heavy year. I still want to read romance, and I don't want to completely disregard it. I enjoy it. But I've had both of these on my shelf. I think this is a newer release, so I think this is the newest release. But I loved The Spanish Love Deception when I first read it. Loved it. And then what was the second one? Like The American Roommate or something like that? I can't remember. But there was a second one about a roommate, and I didn't like that one as much. And then I pre-ordered and got the next ones that she's released, and I haven't read them. So I want to delve back in and want to either give this author some redemption, and just, maybe the American Roommate experiment was just a blip, and actually still enjoy her work. But yeah, want to give these a go and want to kind of get these done and dusted off my physical TBR and on the shelf with The Spanish Love Deception, because, you know, it deserves to be with its brothers and sisters. And then the final book is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I believe this is kind of inspired Stratford-upon-Avon. I think it's kind of, is it loosely inspired by Shakespeare? I don't really know an awful lot about this, but what I do know is that everything that I have heard has been amazing. So yes, really, really want to get to this. I've had this on my shelf for far too long again, and I just like the idea of being in really like late 1500s, Stratford-upon-Avon, beautiful city. I visited a couple of times now. Is it even a city? Town. Beautiful town. I love Stratford-upon-Avon, and yeah, I really want to read this and see what all the fuss is about, because everybody that has read it has given it a glowing review. So there we have it. Some of my 2025 reading and bookish goals and some of the top books on my TBR for 2025. I'd love to hear about your goals, and if you've got any books that are top of your TBR, please leave them in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!